Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the Mrs. Best Reviews channel. We are here to do our weekly recap of TV show Love After Lockup, the hot mess that this show is. Anywho, you guys, we're going to jump right into the episode because a lot happened. For those who are new to the channel, the way that I do things is I just go over each couple and what happened with them. We'll give our opinions. Feel free to comment as well. And friendly reminder to like the video, subscribe if you really enjoy what we're doing. And I appreciate everybody for watching. So let's get into it. We're going to start with Zaria and Troy. We saw them get busy for the very first time. It was a little munch. She V-steamed his balls, which was different. But it looks like they both enjoyed their intimate time together. So they end up getting up the next morning and she lets him know that he's going to have to pick up his mother. And this is kind of a big deal because this is where we learn he does not have a good relationship with his mom. So it turns out that there's a lot that's going on. He's extremely bothered, and he does tell Zaria that he is not ready to see her let. And the reason he's not ready, and he has a valid reason to not be ready, is it turns out when he was 2 or 3 years old, sometime around that range of him being a toddler, his mother dropped him off at a friend's house and she never came back for him. Mind you, he was a toddler at the time. So he ended up going through foster care, and then eventually his aunt and his father ended up raising him. I would imagine that Zaria probably knew about that ahead of time. Hey, welcome. I would imagine that Zaria knew ahead of time that this man's mother abandoned him. Quite literally just dropped her kid off to her friend and just never came back. That's really, really sad. That's really, really sad. And it kind of makes sense as to why and how he would end up in prison. You know, people who struggle growing up do what they have to do, or sometimes they rebel. Regardless, as his wife, I'm sure she knew that. And so to just push the mom on him irritated me. It really did irritate me. So she then drops another bomb and says that in addition to wanting him to go pick up his mama, the mom is also going to be staying with them in their home. How can you not understand how this could impact this man? Like, I truly cannot understand it. I just can't. I really hope that Zaria, I don't know. I just don't feel like she thought this one through, y'all. But comment your opinions. Do you think it was wrong of her to just spring this on him? You know, now if they didn't have a good relationship because he was mad about a stepdad, or, you know, mad that they were poor, or mad at, you know, just anything, like, fine. But this lady did not raise him and abandon him. So it's a different circumstance. So they get home as we get some positivity with these two, and her son recognizes Troy as his father. And for those who don't know, Zaria, I learned this from the According to Amber YouTube channel. Zaria, apparently her baby daddy got her hooked on the needle, if you get what I'm trying to say. And that's part of the reason why her skin is so messed up, allegedly. And the baby daddy's in jail or something like that. So this is all alleged. This is just what's going around in terms of rumors. But, you know, just because the man's in jail don't mean he can't, you know, be a dad to his child. I mean, he can't, but like he could at least know who his actual dad is. Anywho, the son is excited to meet Troy, and Troy seems to be extremely receptive of it. He's incredibly loving toward this young boy. And Zaria pulls him aside and is like, check this out. I got a gift that I bought, but I want you to give it to the boy and act like it's from, you know, you, which I thought was kind of nice. But, you know, she gives the boy the gift. He loves them. Then she says that it's time for him to go get his mom. Like, it is quick. And he instantly, you could see that he's just like, ugh. Now, here's where Zaria pissed me off, y'all. Here's where I'm about to tell you, because how are you pushing this man to go talk to his mom when he's already got a relationship with her that's just difficult, while then in the next moment you're saying in your confessional his mom is difficult and has a good way of pulling the worst out of people? So if you know that, then why would you push him toward that? Let him come out and reacclimate himself to society. She's just throwing everything at him, and it really irritates me. It irks my soul. So he goes he goes to see his mom, y'all, and she has no edges. I am not being nice to this lady or giving her grace because who does that to their child? Like, I know plenty of people who was on drugs, got alcohol problems, all types of stuff, and still raised their kids. She just dropped them off and never came back. And who puts their friend in that type of predicament as well? I can imagine y'all calling James, who I do recaps with, to be just dropping off my child and never coming back. That is insane, insane. Like, but yeah, she didn't have no edges. She needs to stop braiding her hair so she could keep what's left of it too. Now, he asked why his mother did not come to visit him once in jail. And she blames alcohol. She obviously is clear just from looking at her. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Sometimes you can tell someone has a past. And this lady, when I look at her, I see somebody who may have dabbled with drugs and alcohol and had an issue. And she says that alcohol was a problem for her. It looks like she was battling it while he was in jail. He then asked how the relationship between his mother and his wife is going to go. And his mom said, if it don't fit, don't force it. Now, I believe in that saying. I really do. However, why you got beef with Zaria? Zaria made a slight comment, but she didn't make it seem like she didn't want to see the mom. You going to stay in this lady's house. So you talk about if it don't fit, don't force it. Then maybe we need to force your ass to Best Western or something. Because why go into her house if you're gonna have that attitude? Now, Troy immediately after this says that he wants to stay cautious and lets us know in the confessional he don't trust his mama. And I'm glad that he has that point of view just because I don't want his feelings to get hurt because of how this lady, you know, behaves. It looks like because she didn't raise him, because she chose drugs and other stuff over him, like she's going to try and mom him through being overprotective of him as it relates to his wife. But the wife visited. The wife put money on his books. The mom didn't do nothing. She didn't do nothing. So I don't have much empathy for her. And I'm glad that Troy is aware and hoping for the best while expecting the worst. That seems to be the attitude he has. And I think that that is an extremely mature point of view to have, especially in a situation like this. Before we move into the next couple to discuss, do me a favor and like the video if you have not already. Subscribe to the channel. We are a good 7 minutes and 35 seconds into the live. So why not? If you made it this far, you might like us just a little bit. We're going to move on to our next couple, which irritated me, and that's Shantae and True. Shantae has annoyed me from the moment we saw her on Love During Lockup. And the reason why for me is because it's like, girl, this man told you he has never dated a black woman and he's a black man. Red flag. Now he's suddenly interested in you who's dropping cash. So I never fully trusted their relationship as a whole. But, you know, he feels like Shantae is taking the parole situation too seriously. He sounds stupid. And she don't feel like he's taking it serious enough, which I think, yes, but he hasn't done anything to break the law. He's complied thus far. Now, he should definitely know not to play with the government or the system or probation. But I kind of get the feeling that he does know that and just don't want to admit that he gonna have to listen to them on camera. He just gives me that energy, but Shantae is extremely annoyed. And honestly, it seems like things with this couple went from bad to worse to terrible, like incredibly fast. Like it came out of nowhere. I didn't understand it. Like from what happened in the last episode to this one, I don't know if it's editing, but there was like a huge jump in their energy. It's just negative. But Shantae also seemed like the type where when she irritated, she don't talk too much. She's gonna simmer, and you're gonna have to sense all of that negative energy. That's what she gives me. But True is also immature and problematic. That's just my opinion. Now, she also makes the point that he doesn't understand the money that she's spending. But I can't fully feel bad for her because it's like you don't have to keep spending this money. And then in addition to that, Shantae, tell the man that you lost your job so he knows to be fickle, so he knows to, you know, pick the cheaper item. Like, why? Just let him know you're going to be with somebody. You got to keep it real. You just do. It goes both ways. Now, they move on to discuss the fact that he needs to listen to her, and this does not go well. Essentially, she ends up asking True, like, what you want to do? She asks him, do you want to be a friend? Do you want to date? Or do you want to actually be engaged and work towards marriage? And he says he thinks that they can go with the flow. And that's not a clear answer. And I was glad that she demanded a clear answer from him because he's very immature. And he said that he wants to go back to just dating, which means that he does not want to be engaged no more. I'm like, damn, that was fast. You know, when there's a such thing as prison called prison talk. When people locked up, they like to make everything sound good because it's almost like writing the book, playing imaginary friend, so on and so forth. But once you out, you really start to figure out like what you really, want and all of those things. And I think that's the case for True. He out and now he's like, shit, I don't have to talk to the same female. I can talk to however many I want. Uh, Anywho, so he says he wants to go back to dating. The engagement ends pretty fast, and then Shantae asked him, "Are we going to date exclusively, meaning we're only dating each other, or are you going to be dating other people?" And True says, and I'm thinking at first because he starts with this speech that sounds good, like, I don't want to be like other dudes who do the person wrong when they get out, But he also ends it by saying that he is not in the headspace to be exclusive, aka he is not in the headspace to be faithful to nobody. It would have been better if he just said it instead of adding that nice stuff and then setting her up just to disappoint her. Like he playing a mind game. And that's something very, very common of like younger boys. Like he literally is dealing with her like he's in high school. And I could tell that it's on Shantae's last nerve. Now, she just says okay, says that she's cool. And of course, we know that he still has to parole to her house that she purchased. Because remember, she owned a house in her home state, left her home state to purchase a house that he could be in so he could parole to it. And so in my mind, I'm like, True realizes he got a parole to her house because suddenly he's talking about that. And he don't want to stay with his sister or his mom or any of them because he can't do the things that he could do while with Shantae. That's just the truth. He has more freedom with her in a relationship cheating than he do with family, especially the fact that his mama played a part in him going to jail. Just messy. Now, True says that he and Shantae could have worked on some of their issues and figured out the communication thing had they been able to have visits together. Talk about they give you 4-hour visits. Sounds like you just mad somebody didn't visit you, bro, which I am curious as to why she did not visit him. However, at the same time, a visit's not going to help you get to know each other because you still locked up. People operate differently when they're locked up versus when they're home. That's just my observation with people I've known who are close to me when that happens. But you feel me? It is what it is, I suppose. She says that she has wasted her time 3 years, but she will not tell us why she didn't visit. But she does end up breaking down, which is like unfortunate. They sleep in separate rooms. And the next day they end up talking, and True's sister picks him up. And she points out, like, why you look nice to go to the gym? Like, he seems like the type of dude that's flashy, but now that he going to the gym and she with him, she don't trust it. And she also don't trust the family. So it turns out she has a reason not to trust the family because the sister called her friend who True used to talk to come to the gym with them. And I knew it was bull crap because look at the sister's fupa. Look at the sister's body. The girl ain't in shape and ain't nothing wrong with it. Hell, I ain't in shape. But she ain't got the body of somebody who's actually going to work out. So I wouldn't have trusted that either. But I don't like how Shantae just sits and stews instead of talking to him. But I also feel like she got the energy like, oh, he's immature, so I don't got to deal with that. And they also maybe give a storyline. They may be giving storyline. And I don't like that. Anywho, y'all, we are halfway through. Do me a favor and like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you really like us, try us out, trial period, whatever you want to call it. We're going to discuss Kim and Joey next. They get on my nerves. They really, really get on my nerves, you guys. They just do. Now, Joey's freshly released and she booked this pretty Airbnb in the mountains for them to spend the first night in. And we learned that the way that they got together has just always been messy. She was cheating on her ex with Joey and was going to leave the ex to be with Joey. And then she found out she was pregnant by the ex. So ran from Joey back to the ex, got married, did that whole thing. Now she right back on Joey. She's making it seem like, oh, we were always meant to be. And to me, I'm like, girl, no wonder he worried and don't trust you because he got you because you were cheating on your husband. So he probably always going to wonder if you're going to cheat now that he got you. See, that's why people need to just not cheat. But But apparently the old husband thinks that if Kim is not with Joey, that she will come back to him. So it just sounds like she's been spending her adult life as a toxic, messy thought. But now that she got kids, it's probably slowing her down. Um, it's just a mess. Anyhow, Joey thinks it's Kim's ex that's watching, that's watching them because we saw that he was sending somebody sent him information about Kim. But it doesn't make sense that it would be the ex because she made the point like, oh, they would need your booking number and your prison information, but that's also stuff you can just look up. So I don't know. It could be anybody. This couple is messy though. She cheated on him to get with him, and he ain't never not cheated on nobody. And her cousin, her blood cousin, dated him and lost her virginity to him. The whole situation is just messy with these two. It's just messy. I don't understand these white people messy. I'm saying it. They messy as hell. I don't get it. So they move on from all of that, and it looks like they got busy. Sex was good. Good for them. I don't know why Love After Lockup always makes it a point to like show us these awkward bedroom moments. I don't need it, but somebody out there finds entertainment in it. Now, they go to the toy store because he is released on Christmas Eve, which is actually really nice. And immediately when they get there, he asks for her card. It's funny. A man who ain't got no car always gonna make sure he driving when he in his female's car. And then he's, let me get your debit card, sugar mama. My husband, listen, sometimes I'll buy my husband something because he pays for everything, and I was at home for years. But like, he better not ever look at me and ask for my card and call me a sugar mama. I will run your foot over. No. Who's proud to be that? So I know there are people who are, but like, come on, Kevin, that's weird. You a single mom with two kids and he calling you a sugar mama? No, it wasn't funny. Um, Anywho, he goes in this toy store and he immediately notices that everything is much more expensive. So, because he's been in jail for so many years. But he still chooses to spend over $300 of her money. And mind you, she's a teacher's assistant. She don't make too much money. She said it at the end of the show. I make 15 an hour. I do the best I can. But they get to the house and he sees his mom. She breaks down, meets the kids. But I just thought it was nice that he was released on Christmas and they ended the episode with these two, like on a positive note. I will say that. Moving on, you guys, we are going to get into the next couple, which is also a new couple, Bianca and Daniel. Now, every season of Love After Lockup, we get, a younger couple to like see, like, are these young people going to even be able to make it? Kind of like Brittany and Key Rock. In this case, we have Bianca and Daniel. She's 23. He is 8 years older than her. So that would make him 31, I believe, which is kind of concerning. It's hard to interact with people that young once you get to a certain age. Now she's 23 and she's unemployed. Immediate red flag. She lives in Florida, and we learned that Daniel is doing time in Arizona. He is in jail for third-degree burglary as well as getting an intense DUI, and he has been in jail for the past 4 years. Here's the worst part. These two have only been together for 8 months. And he's locked up. So we learned some stupid mess. We learned that she has an apartment already in Arizona for when he gets out. And the reason she chose to get this apartment, and it's only on a 4-month lease, and she's paid for it ahead of time. And she states that the only reason she is getting this apartment is because when he gets out of jail, he cannot leave Arizona for the first 90 days. And then he has to get approval to leave, which is common. So she wanted to have an apartment so she has somewhere to stay just in case. It's brilliant, but homie is unemployed. So the whole time as they're introducing her, I was like, how does this girl afford all of that? Being that she's unemployed. She ain't talked about a benefit. She ain't talked about nothing. I was genuinely confused. Moving on, she basically lets us know if this man is never able to leave the state, she will move to Arizona for him. I couldn't move from Florida to the desert. I really could not. I understand Florida deals with hurricanes and stuff, but I can't just go to the desert. I can't do that. I can't. I just cannot. But basically, I wanted to know how she afforded everything with no job. But her friend who we meet thinks that she's delusional. And I think her friend is right. She's definitely having some delusions of grandeur. Um, Her friends, at least, I think she has good friends in her life because they all seem to keep it real with her. Um, and they still move on. But we then learned that uh, Bianca was drunk one night, got into a car with a friend who was supposed to be driving her home. And it turns out that her friend was drunk. She says she did not know, probably because she was drunk. Unfortunately, her friend crashed into a concrete wall, going full speed. She broke her neck and was unable to speak and is just getting back voice. And her voice is annoying as hell. That thing came back strong. So we learned that she started talking to prisoners due to her wanting to relate to someone getting a DUI and, what happened to her. And in my opinion, when she said that, I said, okay, so you seeked out prisoners not for love, but because you were curious about people driving drunk when driving someone that you knew driving drunk almost killed you, quite literally. Trauma bond. If that ain't a trauma bond, I don't know what is. So she's young, she's impressionable, she doesn't know anything in life, but she's at the age where she thinks that she does because she can drink and smoke and all those things a legal adult can do. But I feel for her because it sounds like, and we'll hear, things throughout the episode with her. It sounds like she just has a lot of trauma and needs to get a new environment. Now she takes a call from Daniel, and we learn that from that accident, that's where her money came from. So now it makes sense. But she says, I cannot comment on my accident at all. So I'm not allowed to say whether I did or did not receive any money. But I have a lot of savings and I'm comfortable to not work. Girl, you basically told on yourself, but you was smart to say what your lawyer told you to say. She probably got a settlement from that accident because of all that happened to her. And I hate when younger people get settlements. I feel like there should be like someone like they check into to explain their finances without someone having control of them. But I just worry she's going to spend all her money on something stupid like renting an apartment for 4 months somewhere that you say you'll move if he can't leave. It's very strange. And then she says she wants to leave Florida because it's traumatic. But then you also say if Daniel can leave Arizona. So if he can leave Arizona, you guys are going to stay in Florida? Like, she's contradicting herself, but she's young and dumb, so I'm not surprised, honestly. Moving on, you guys. Her friend, we meet her best friend, basically. She has a guy best friend from her high school, because when you're 23, you are still friends with people from high school. And she takes a call from Daniel, and apparently he ain't been calling her like that. This is where we learned that they having issues. He has not been calling her like that. He said that he has been calling her. Then he said when she questioned him that he was in class, he's lying and dysfunctional. So her friend asked Daniel, her best friend asked Daniel, like, listen, are you going to stay in a halfway house? Because they were talking to each other and she was explaining how Daniel says that there's no way in hell he's staying in a halfway house. And I'm kind of confused on the narrative because I'm like, not everyone who gets released has to stay in a halfway house. A good example is Chevelle and Quaylen from Love During Lockup. When Quaylen was released, he didn't have to go to one. He did his time. So, not everybody has to do that, but a lot of offenders do, especially in Arizona. So, he still is like, hell no, he's not going to a halfway house. He wants to stay with Bianca. And the friend says to him, well, I don't think it's going to work out if you're not going to be able to do that because, why not follow the instruction? So Bianca's friend then asks Daniel her friend asked her if she's going to be able to be sober around Daniel because he has a drug and alcohol problem. And she says no because she don't got a drinking problem. She's not at the age where she's willing to sacrifice for love yet, everyone. It's just the way it is. Now, I think that's funny. How you love him that much, but you can't go and do that. Now, we also have to pay attention to the fact that he is 8 years older than her. He also has a 13-year-old son and an ex-wife. For a 23-year-old who has not lived and is unemployed, that is a concern. I cannot see this young lady being a stepmom to a 13-year-old. Mind you, the kid's 13, she's 23. She's only 10 years older than his son. Ain't no way in hell. I just don't buy that this will work. I just don't. So After learning all of that, we did see Daniel's mom call, and she lets Daniel's mom know that she is nervous about him getting out. And his mom explains that if Bianca drinks around Daniel, that he may become triggered and go back on drugs and end up in the same situation he's in now, because they said that he's done this before, and who knows better than his mama. Now, then the dad comes onto the call out of nowhere, and he's like, "How mentally stable are you?" Which is where they got the episode from. And she is just so offended by it. But I think oftentimes on this show, the people who are not the prisoners or the inmates think that they are normal or better. But I think the dad had a valid question. You can't be too right in the head if you're reaching out to prisoners to date. You're literally seeking out unavailable people. So the dad is valid, but she's also valid in her response to it once she's off the phone. She's like, the dad is outlandish and to come in hot like that, and he just thinks it's funny. That's probably why Daniel's in this situation. So she thinks the dad is the reason Daniel's the way he is, which is kind of rude. And she said that on camera. But she's in La La Land. I think Daniel's only concerned for himself. I don't think he has no concern for this little girl. I think he knows what he's doing, being 31, dating a 23-year-old who's only 10 years older than his son. He don't want to go to a halfway house. He probably would have to if he didn't have her. I don't know. I don't trust it. But I'm happy we got another couple. I like new people on Love After Lockup. Like, even if we know in our like head, this won't last. She's so young, you know, but still, it's still fun to watch. And in her head, she thinks it'll last forever. You know, I just prefer this versus Renika, who is delusional over Asante at her big age. Uh, Moving on, y'all. Let's get into our last couple, the couple that irks me the most, the lady whose leave out is stiffer than the trunk of a tree, Letitia and Keith. Now, Letitia is stressed out because she got an eviction notice. And word on the street, check out According to Amber on YouTube. In the words of Kempire, we cite our sources. Letitia is constantly in the tabloids, or there's constantly videos being made about her. She done been evicted from her businesses, sued by previous landlords, evicted from houses. Her daughter said growing up, all types of men was in the house. They had to move around. She's a felon as well. She's just, why you got an eviction notice on a television show? Why? You on TV, you got exposure. You now have social media. You can utilize that and turn that into some type of income. There is no reason, girl, that you should be getting an eviction notice while your hair is done, your nails done, you're driving a fancy car, and you're wearing name brands. That extra money could have went towards your rent. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Notice, I always say, if you come to the Bay Area and go to the neighborhoods where billionaires are at, you're not seeing G-Wagons and Aston Martins and Ferraris. You see Priuses and 2006 Camrys and Honda Civics, okay? You see regular ass cars and Teslas because they always seem to love the environment. But Letitia, you could just tell she's one of them Black folk who like to keep up with the Joneses. That's just my personal opinion. But at the detriment of her literal housing. Girl, pay your rent. Pay your rent, because she does not own this home. She doesn't. Because it was all over the tabloids a few months ago when this happened. Now, she also seems to think that this eviction is because of Keith. Letitia, stop playing with us. You know you don't pay your bills, girl. Allegedly. You know you don't. You done been sued time after time after time, evicted a couple times from your business, from houses. Girl, we know you don't pay your bills. Do not say that you're getting evicted because Keith is coming there before he's even released. Makes no sense. Now, Keith's aunt is there. I think Aunt Marcia or whatever her name is. And Aunt Marcia ain't slick. She said, all right, well, I see you over well. Let me take a picture of this pink eviction slip and I'll look into it for you. They ain't gonna tell you nothing, Aunt Marcia. You're not her family. For real, for real. Only she could look into that eviction. But you know, Aunt Marcia, she about to spread that around to everybody in the family. And she's going to probably tell Keith about the notice before Letitia noticed. How you go spend $15,000 of his money on a ring knowing you needed to pay your rent, Letitia? Please make it make sense. And that's what I'm going to say. Until I see proof that she's being evicted because Keith is a felon, I'm just going to assume the heifer ain't paid her rent. Listen, people get evicted. Sometimes people can't pay their rent. But when you can't pay your rent, you got a $15,000 ring on. I'd have been at the pawn shop on OfferUp, Facebook Market. I would have been somewhere trying to sell that ring, using it as collateral for a loan, anything, something. She's slow, but Aunt Marcia ain't slick. She took a picture of that pig slip. Now, she calls a number after Marcia leaves to basically find out about Keith's release because he's supposed to be granted an early release due to a law changing, meaning he can get out because he served the allotted amount of time. They ain't got no record of Keith being released and tell her to contact her private attorney. Now, my thing that I peeped, why was she more focused on Keith getting out than handling her eviction notice? Aunt Marcia can't pay your rent. I didn't understand that. I felt like handling her housing was more important and she could have let Keith's aunt handle figuring out the information. It's almost like she has to be, I'm the wife, I got to do this when it comes to him. But as a wife, you understand that sometimes you lean on your in-laws for support or you lean on family for support. There have been times that I have asked my mother-in-law to do things or help my husband in a certain way. Like you lean on family sometimes for support. So it was very strange that she felt like he was more important than her immediate housing, which affects her kids. I'm looking at Letitia with a side eye now. So she tries to call the lawyer. He doesn't answer the phone. I'm not surprised. When she said that they paid a paralegal, I was like, so Keith has a paralegal, but he doesn't have a lawyer. A paralegal is not a lawyer. They usually just file papers and stuff on behalf of the lawyer, are kind of like a receptionist to an extent with a lawyer, but they have a lot of knowledge, but they are not lawyers. So where's the lawyer? And she calls the paralegal. He not answering the phone, so they think something shady could be going on. That's what they allude to with the editing, because they did pay him $1,000 to file the paperwork to get Keith released. But I don't know. I don't know, y'all. We'll see what happens. But that was it for this episode of Love After Lockup, titled How Mentally Stable Are You? This was Mrs. Best Reviews recap and review of the episode. Don't worry when we are not live anymore. Feel free to comment your opinions. Shout out to our replay gang, those who watch us when we're no longer live. I appreciate you guys as well as everyone who watches. You keep thy channel going. Love and light to you all. Be sure to look out for James Jackson. He is an author as well as a YouTuber that I collaborate with often. He will be having a live where we will discuss Love and Marriage Huntsville later on tonight. So be sure to tune into that. But I appreciate all of you, and I hope that you're having the best morning, afternoon, evening, and or night. And I'll see y'all next week again for our Love After Lockup.